What's going on, guys? First video here of many to come. This one today we are going to be working on my good old trusty 2008 Jeep Wrangler X. Had this thing for quite a while now, going on about 10 years, done numerous things to it, but figured, hey, might as well start documenting this, start recording some of these things I do. That way, you know, first of all, I can reference them in the future when something goes wrong, and also just help out fellow Jeepers, like tinkering with their own stuff. I do have, a little bit of a mechanical background, worked at a Jeep dealership for a while, but for the most part, just a shade tree mechanic. So we're gonna be knocking out this today, starting here about 7:30 p.m. in the middle of summer, so might be running out of daylight, but we're gonna get this done, try to document it along the way. Any tips or tricks I come across, I'll be sure to spread with you guys, but this is, like I said, kind of first video, so let me know what you think. If I talk too boring and need to spice it up, throw in some jokes, let me know. If I'm joking too much, let me know. Let's go ahead and get started here. I'll kind of walk through why I'm doing this in the first place. Okay, now, the whole reason I wanted to change these out is because of this play that we have here. I actually have the tire jacked up just barely off the ground right there. But I want to show you this. I just noticed this, Jesus, the other day. I was just goofing around with Jeep, I don't know, had it jacked up. I think I was swapping out the tires. But noticed whenever I dropped this down, it had a little clunk to it. So let's go ahead and drop this down. I do have it up on the jack. Let's go ahead and drop this and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, probably not gonna want to do it. Okay, so as far as ball joint goes, hardware wise, decided to go with these Teraflex kit. Now, I guess these are a different design than some of the others. I've seen some kind of back from like 2014 or so, that the uppers were actually adjustable as far as camber, so they kind of had like this internal lock ring that went around at the top, but, still pretty bulky frame. Really nice packaging. Kind of too nice. Makes you wonder, but we'll see. I'll put a lot of miles on these. I think I mentioned this earlier too. Last ball joints were Moog. I just picked up from the local O'Reilly's. I think I put about 60,000 miles on them so far, running 35s. Look at those. Those are beefy. Nice and good. Like the cap here too. It's not like a different type of metal. It's still that same hard anodized whatever they use on the sides. On some cheaper stuff, or even the Moog, this is just kind of a piece of sheet metal up here. So obviously this is the top. Top is not a ball joint. This is more of just like kind of a pivot bushing. But it's still important to have some ruggedness to these because these take a lot of lateral movement. So, and pressure and science terms. As far as the lowers go, these are pretty solid. See, here's that adjustable ring. This can lock down if you have any play. Kind of funny thing about these too. So these you have to torque down to about 70 foot-pounds using this tool, but not after initial installation. You only do this if you notice any slack, a little bit further down the road. So this little tool, I don't know how that'll hold up. And not a big fan of spanner type wrenches anyways for any type of adjustment, but we'll see how this works out. These dual grease ports, I'm not sure why there's two, but these do have to orient in a certain way. It's a very particular way these install. I want to make sure we get that correct. So overall I'm really impressed with the quality of these. I mean, they're really solid. The castle nuts they provide are nice. We also got some cotter pins in here and some Zerk fittings. I'll have to get those out with a magnet or something, but yeah, overall, packaging, materials themselves, really nice. Really impressed with these. Doesn't come with an Allen key though, I don't think. Maybe it does, I just haven't dug in that far, but these were nice. Got these from extremeterrain.com. Teraflex stuff is generally, the same price, regardless of what platform you get it from. But they actually had a sale going on for all their line of products, and I got these for, I think, $262 before tax, and then it's free shipping. Got here within about a day, shipped out from Kansas City. So let's go ahead, finish taking the Jeep apart, get these babies in, and see what we're using for some tools here. Okay, so special tools required for this. I mean, this is pretty run-of-the-mill, honestly. We're dealing with old technology here, and this is a really simple set of tools. So let's open this up and I'll show you what we're talking about. So actually open this upside down, but works out fine. But anyways, this is the special tool I got here. This is just a standard run-of-the-mill ball joint press. Picked this up at the local AutoZone, about 130 bucks to rent, but of course you get all that money back whenever you return it, or you can just keep it forever if you get one in good shape. However, I'm not paying 130 bucks for this. This has other people's fingerprints all over it, but we're gonna make this work. I went ahead and made sure to test fit those while I was in the store checking this out. As far as I can tell, this smaller cup right here should be the one we're going to use for most of this work. So if not, I mean, I got a few sockets we can try to fool around with and see if we can make them work, but you'll definitely need one of these. Now, I wouldn't recommend buying one unless you're going to do this frequently on multiple vehicles. I wouldn't buy this if you're even just a weekend wheeler with just one Jeep. That's really not gonna be cost effective. You might as well just rent it, basically use it for free. I've heard people getting these for about 80 bucks at Harbor Freight, but they tend to bend. These ones, honestly, the ones that you get at the parts stores that you can just rent, these are really solid. I mean, these are heavy pieces of like cast steel. So we're gonna go ahead and finish tearing the Jeep apart. And a little bit after the video, I'll go ahead and do a summary of all the tools I use for the entire job. We're gonna do this the easy way, you just do it in your driveway. So let's get to it. Okay, so kind of hard to tell, but it does make kind of a knocking noise. The uppers, those can have plenty of play. Those really don't matter. Those are meant to have play. I mean, these don't look to be in too bad a shape. But yeah, that one's pretty bad, and the one down there is pretty bad as well. So let's go ahead, get these wheels off, get the brake rotors off, calipers, and then we'll spray some bolts down, get this tie rod out of the way, and get started. Okay, so earlier I mentioned, or may have not, but these are the little bolts you're going to need to spray down with some PB blaster or equivalent. Get those nice and soaked down. Fortunately, I live in a dry area, so this really isn't a big issue, but also it'd be a good time if you needed to swap out these unit bearings. But basically all we're going to do to get this pulled out for right now, and spray this down. This is relatively new for me, so I don't really need to, but spray down tie rod end, just 3 bolts on the unit bearing, and then maybe this one a little bit, but you'll need to take this out too. It's the wheel speed sensor. And once those 3 are out, basically just pull this whole thing out, including the axle shaft, and we'll get this loose, and then the whole hub will be free. All we have to do is press out those ball joints. Alrighty, we got that tie rod disconnected. The trusty little log right here holding it up. Honestly, it's like it's meant to be. It's really goes together well. Really nice. I like keeping my nuts with my bolts. I mean, if that just seems natural. So, alright, so now I'm gonna take out this wheel speed sensor. Now, these you have to be really careful with. If you have a Jeep, you probably have a traction control light code on all the time, and it's always from these little guys. It's either a nick or a cut somewhere in the cable, or maybe they're just having a bad day. But let's pull this out nice and slow. Be sure to grab it by the plastic there. Perfect. Oh, that's weird. Some weird grease on it or something. Well, it's not throwing a code. I already had the J-scan hooked up to it earlier, so we're good there. Let's see what inside there looks like. Some sort of little reluctor ring or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, it has some little grooves in there. That's weird. Oh well. Let's stop getting distracted. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get this bad boy out of here. We're to leave a couple of these threaded in just in case we need to hit them from the back with a hammer and pop this loose. And these hubs have been in here for about 4 or 5 years, so same thing with everything. Really, I haven't touched any of this stuff in about 4 or 5 years. Let's go ahead and put that one back in too. And let's go ahead and flip around to the other side here. It always helps to make sure that your U-joint here is perpendicular. That way you can move it back and forth pretty easily. You don't want to jam it up. That's a good way to mess up a U-joint, especially if it has some wear on it already. Okay, sweet. So now, that one back in a little bit. What we're gonna do is grab our little hammer here and try to get this out. Not sure if I can get the camera for this, but we'll get something happening here. Oh yeah, that's coming out just fine. We won't even need to beat that the rest of the way. Beautiful. Let's pull this axle out. All right, so we got the stub shaft or axle shaft, whatever you want to call it, basically driver's side axle assembly, including the wheel hub. We got this removed. One thing you want to make sure of when you're pulling it out is to not let this thing drag, because there's a seal that runs right here, the inner axle seal. As you can tell, that metal right there, it's worn down quite a bit actually. You can kind of hang your nail on it. That's not necessarily a good sign, but we don't have any leaks, so I think we're doing okay there. These little guys are supposed to catch a little bit of debris and oil as well, but basically before this goes back in, you want to wipe this off really good with a rag. Maybe put a little bit of oil on there, or some axle grease, just a tiny bit, but really want to make sure that's clean. Whenever you put it back in, you want to make sure this is centered perfectly and not dragging into that seal. Once you're in about 4 inches, you're fine, but before that, just don't let it drag. All right, guys, so we're back here in the morning, finishing this up. Got a little late last night. I was doing a lot of hammering, so to be courteous to the neighbors, decided to get started again this morning. But yeah, I just actually was able to break these free. All I had to do really was heat this up down here at the bottom for just about a minute with this little camp torch. It's got pretty warm, but that just dropped out of there nicely. So we're gonna get this knuckle off and press out these old ball joints. So now we do have some leaf blowers going on in the background, but check this out. It's terrible. That's not how that's supposed to go. And this top one's still nice and tight in there. It's a pivot, but good Lord. I know I heated it up a little bit, but that's still pretty terrible. So just showing you what to be looking out for here. So we got the bottom one out here. Lower one's all good. Doesn't look like that old one actually went in evenly though. It's got some weird witness marks on it, but also getting this top one out, just got it loose. So you can see that's nice and loose there. Did have to go grab some adapters from another AutoZone because there just wasn't any cups that were long enough that could fit over everything and actually drive it out. So this actually ended up being pretty easy once we had the proper tools. So this is all done on this side. We're gonna get this out, get these cleaned up. I might do a little bit of spray painting too, but yeah, we'll get that taken care of, and then we'll move on to the install of the new ones over here on the driver's side. Alright, so we got the knuckle back on. Yeah, that's what you want. And some good resistance there. It's kind of hard to turn. Went ahead and put the date when I did this, 22, just, you know, year at least, so I can remember. Index marks as well. This one's a little bit off, I'll remark that, but that was just to line it up. Top one didn't really matter, I just wanted the logo facing the front. But the bottom one did matter. Had to get that clocked in, make sure those little grease ports are facing like directly at the axle tube, basically. So you want to center mark that perpendicular to the frame of the vehicle, and then just pop that back up in. These ones actually do sit a little bit higher than the previous ones I had in here. Actually went back and did some research. The previous ones I had were made for a WJ Grand Cherokee, so they had the little notch for the snap ring. These ones do not have that, so but got those pressed in. Pretty happy with how it all put together. Did kind of mess up one of these. Reach over here, this adapter. So we did not have a tapered one, but now we do, I suppose. We'll return that to the store somehow. We'll figure something out. But yeah, so that's about it. Little tips and tricks getting this button back together. Went ahead and painted this too. They were getting pretty rusty. This is high heat paint, which is why it's a little bit more glossy. Everything else had to do with flat black Rust-Oleum industrial. But yeah, this did high heat just because of the brakes. You know, rotors right here. I'm not running dust plates either. I tend to destroy those, so not running them, and this can get pretty hot as a result of that. That could also lead to some premature ball joint failure, just all that heat. So that's kind of another, you know, congruent reason why I wanted to do this job, but that's about it for this side. Of course, on the other side, we're just gonna go ahead and repeat it. Won't video too much of that unless there's something that stands out, like, you know, tough to get something apart. But for right now, I think we're good right here. We'll go ahead, get that axle shaft put back on with the unit bearing, get these torqued down. Need to get some cotter pins in there, get those all nice and lined up. Still need to torque them. I need to check the torque specs on these, which I will check right now and let you guys know. So Teraflex thankfully includes really detailed instructions. These are great. These are actually meant for the old style of ball joint, but they work pretty well. But here's what we're looking for. Want to reinstall the outer knuckle to the ball joint studs and get those studs with the nuts tightened down to 70 foot-pounds. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. That will not be included on video, but if you don't know how to torque down nuts, you probably should not be doing anything like this. So we'll go ahead and get those torqued down, throw the axle back in, and then we will install the Zerk fittings, cotter pins, and then fill these up with some grease. Get this side done at least, and then start on the passenger side. All right, so let's go ahead and get these Zerk fittings in. If you have a grease gun with like a little rubber pointed tip, you can fill this up beforehand, but I do not, so I'm just going to do it with the regular ultra grease gun. Wow, those thread in actually really nice. Teraflex makes nice stuff. Always surprised. Have their steering stabilizer in it. It's really nice too. You always want to thread stuff like this in, especially when it's in a cast piece by hand. Then you can come back with the ratchet here. Just get that not too tight, you just want to get it about right there. But yeah, overall, install of these was really not too bad. Taking the old ones out is really what was the most time consuming, I feel like. But otherwise, everything really turned out well. Excited to get these greased up. Get the other side done too. Yeah, not too tight. Yeah, go ahead, get the axle shaft thrown back in, brake caliper, brake rotor. We'll get this moved over, start on the other side, but might give it a little test drive first. We don't know. I don't know. I don't like running stuff that's different on two different sides. I like it being all same, but this is already a lot more put together than the last one, so we're doing well. So I'll get these greased up, just kind of cycle it back and forth a few times, and then get that axle put back in. We'll be good to go. All right, all buttoned up on the driver's side. Get this back together. Get the wheel back on, throw all this shit back in the box. Start on the other side. All right, gang, so I'm back, and the ball joint job is complete. We'll just go ahead and say I've put about 50 miles on this so far since swapping those out, and it drives incredible. Very, very straight. All I had to do was recenter the steering wheel, which I may make another video on eventually, but you guys can go ahead and do some really, smart type of Google search type stuff, figure that out on your own, or just take it to a shop. It's like 75 bucks. But really impressed with how these turned out. They still look nice with the little name brand on there. Go ahead and get my finger in the shot too. Oh yeah, and see, I greased these up. There is a little bit of grease coming out. Not so much on that one, but on this other side there definitely is. I don't know if you can see that so well. Get that focused. Yeah, so that's actually how you know that these are filled with grease. Especially this one, like you kind of feel it. It's firm. You can feel the grease in there. It's not just air floating around. But after 50 miles, pump those up with like 1 or 2 more pumps of grease on each port. Just keep that going again. You're going to continue doing that for about another 200-300 miles. So, but after that, just do it about once a year. You'll be good. But yeah, really happy with how this turned out. We'll be doing some more videos like this soon. There's a couple things on my wish list that I need to get done, one of which is going to be some new upper control arms for the rear here that are adjustable. I do have some pinion alignment issues, whatever you want to call it. Pinion angles basically out of whack. It's causing some driveline vibration between 30 miles per hour and 40 miles per hour. Only really on like light acceleration though, so we're gonna try to get that figured out in the next video. Who knows how long that'll be from now, maybe a month, maybe 2. Probably a little bit shorter if I had to choose. But yeah, I mean, that's just wish list type stuff. Overall though, Teraflex ball joints, incredibly pleased. I'll continue to update on these as we go. But so far, pretty happy. So appreciate everybody sticking through it, watching this whole mess of a video, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, first one. Let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like. I want to make this helpful for other people. I really don't care so much about documenting stuff on my end, but I feel like I can help people. I'm always Googling stuff that I'm trying to fix on my Jeep, and I don't know, some stuff Chrysler can't figure out, doesn't have good documentation on it, so we'll see. But appreciate you guys tuning in, or whatever whatever you call YouTube. But yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you.